Hello and welcome to Game Changer Live, brought to you by Connor's Coaching. We were created to cover topics that inspire around coaching, mindset hacks, positivity, and more. And we go live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time because we think that live brings the most authentic and unedited version of ourselves to you. So what you see is what you get if you choose to work with me. We have guests occasionally throughout the month, and together we inspire. That's our motto. Together we inspire. So let's get inspired today. My name is Daniel Connor. I'm a certified professional coach. I am an International Coaching Federation leader, and I am an energy leadership master practitioner. Those are really big titles that I hold that mean something, but I'm also a person, and I'm the owner of a small business, Connor's Coaching. I'm also the host of this channel, and my clients hire me when they are ready to get unstuck and to find a more fulfilling and purposeful life, so that each day they wake up to a better version of themselves in the mirror. And nothing does that quicker than journaling, which is the topic for today's show. Have you ever really stopped and listened to your thoughts? Do you ever question where some of the negative voices come from? The inner critic. Well, they're coming from you, but they're shaped by your subconscious. They're shaped by voices from the past, people that you cared about who told you who you should be, or how you should act, how you should behave. They listen to how you talk to yourself in the mirror. They listen to your feelings. They're much more in tune with your feelings, oftentimes, than you are. And they combine together to create this inner voice, this inner critic. It's simple, really. But you have the ability to shape those thoughts. You have the ability to rewrite them. That self doubt, that self destructive talk, or that imposter syndrome that so many of us suffer from, those could be erased and replaced with something that actually works to drive you towards a better version of yourself. Intrigued? Skeptical? Well, I know it's possible. And when people hear the word journal, they oftentimes imagine the Vampire Diaries, right, from the 90s, from the 90s and 2000s. The girl or young boy sitting in the sun, writing in their journal, saying how sad they are and how depressed they are. We're not talking about that. That can be helpful, but usually it's not. And it could be more helpful if you had just a little structure. We're also not talking about bullet journaling. I actually despise bullet journaling a little bit because bullet journaling is about a list of things you want to do. At its best, it's a grocery list of things you want to see yourself accomplish. And how are you going to feel when you don't accomplish those things? That's when the inner voice is going to come out and criticize you and make you feel bad that you didn't accomplish those things. So I am not talking about traditional journaling or bullet journaling. I am talking about something that's more than a checklist, more than what you have to do today, more than just a way of vomiting up negative emotions onto a piece of paper that helps regurgitate them and helps keep them alive. Because that's what the Dear John or Dear Diary model can do. Instead, I'm talking about something where you're actually writing down and listening to those thoughts, analyzing them, critiquing them, and deciding which ones you're going to carry forward and replacing the ones that aren't working with thoughts that are going to better you. Journaling does not need to be a pen and paper situation. It doesn't need to be hours spent hunched over a notebook. It can just be a variety of different things. And I'm here to talk about ways to journal and ways to make it useful in rewriting the person that you are into the person that you want to be. And there are several ways to do it. But first of all, I want to talk about bad journaling because bad journaling isn't repeatable or inspiring. It doesn't get done. You don't wake up and think, I'm gonna journal today because you have a bad journaling habit. Bad journaling is just lists of goals or tasks that you have to take. It doesn't really delve deep into this below the surface of your feelings, and when it does, it's just reiterating them or reinforcing them, dooming them to repeat. Bad journaling is a habit that you mean to do, but you can't find time for because it's too complicated. Good journaling is journaling that is easy, it's simple, and it doesn't take a lot of time. That's the kind of journaling that has the biggest impact, and I'm here for it. In 2011 is when I discovered journaling, and I hated the person that I saw in the mirror. I discovered positive psychology, and I realized that I was living in a victim story, but I was stuck in that victim story. It was holding me back from being the person I wanted to be, and I went on a journey to change myself. And I started journaling using a long-winded format. I started journaling, I tried bullet journaling, I tried the long-winded formulas. They didn't work for me because they weren't replicable. But when I did them, they did help a little. I was listening to that part of myself that was stifled, that only talked negatively to me. And I finally found a model that worked better. And that's what I want for you. I want you to find a model of journaling that works the best for you. I don't want you to use the model that works best for me. So there are a ton of different journaling models out there. There's bullet journaling. It can be helpful. But when you do your bullet journaling, save a section of your bullet journaling for more than just a list of things you want to do. If that is something that inspires you, if you like making pretty colors on the paper that look organized and look like a plan, go for it. That's not me. I talked to someone who used Post-it notes for journaling. She called it her leaf journal, and I loved that idea, that she would write her journal thoughts on pieces of paper, little pieces of sticky paper, and then stick it in the blank journal so that it was just filled with feathers or leaves of thoughts. It could be comic book journaling, where you have two simple hand-drawn panels like you would see in the Sunday comics. If they even still have those. A webcomic, maybe that's a better idea. And each panel would be devoted to a specific question. Panel 1 answering one question, panel 2 answering another question. And then you get to express yourself in two different ways, both in words, and the nice thing about comic book journaling is that it's short. The bad part about comic book journaling is you probably are going to have to draw your own comics, and not everyone feels like they're that artistic, but it's okay if they're stick figures. That's okay. The point is to get your thoughts out, and it's a creative way to do that. And sometimes creativity helps us bridge the gap to our subconscious a little bit better. There are also journaling apps for your phone. And I'm not sponsored by any app, but the one that I'm the most interested in is an app called Daily Bean, which lets you create little panels, kind of like what I described with the comic book. It also uses emojis and things like that. So that's a very unique way of doing it. If you're younger, if you really like using technology, that might be a great way to get into journaling. You can also just use your phone to record a video. You could also use your phone to record a voice memo. You can write on Post-it notes, like I mentioned, and just put those in a single place. Or you could even just write on blank pieces of paper and staple them together or put them in a box. The way that you journal, whatever method you choose, make it daily, make it simple, make it replicable, make it doable, and do it regularly. And review it. Review it every 30 days or so. Because if you're not reading your journal, what's the point? So, some tools that you'll need just to get started with journaling. There are three options. Option one, a pen and paper. This could be a book. I have a couple of books. I got two beautiful journals this year in the holidays. And another option could be your phone. Um, I know I had a client who just couldn't handle the written word. That hand would cramp up, or they would stare at this blank paper and it wouldn't help. Apps can help prompt you and help get you moving. So, your phone is another great tool. And your phone can also be used for, as I said, video recording or voice recording. Um, and again, if you're going to go for an app, look for one that is customizable, that doesn't just use a formula that works for some people. It uses a formula that you create for yourself. That's why I recommend the Daily Bean from the apps that I've seen. And then finally, option three is the simplest, but also the most difficult to master, and that is your mirror. And the reason is that that takes a little bit more mental kung fu, and it often works best if you have post it notes or some sort of paper to go with it. But the mirror can be a very powerful tool for visualizing a person that you want to see in the mirror tomorrow, which is all about my coaching, right? That's the motto of my coaching business, is to find a better version of yourself in the mirror, reflected every day. So, the next thing you want to worry about is content, or worry is not the right word, but consider is content. Now, if you're a master at journaling, you already know what to do. I'm not going to tell you. This is for people who are beginners who are just starting out. I want you to ask two simple questions of yourself just to get started. And these questions, the first one you're going to answer very, very briefly. The second one you're going to spend a little bit more time on. And these questions are simple, but they're profound. Oftentimes, the questions I ask are profound if you work with me. Just going to warn you, if you work with me, I'm going to ask you profound questions. Questions like, why? Why are you doing that? You'd be surprised at how many times I've had people groan or say, I really hate you right now, in a loving sort of way. So, the first question that I'd like to see you start answering in your journal on a daily basis is a question that you're going to ask at the end of the day, after everything's already happened. Okay? And that's when I think journaling works the best. Bullet journaling would have you do it at the beginning of the day. And that's perfectly fine. If that's what you want to do and that's what you're good at, then do that. But I think that at its best, journaling is a reflection of what has happened so that you can choose what you're going to do in the future. So, the first question that I'd like you to ask yourself, if you're just starting your journaling journey and you're on journaling journey and you're and you're on board with doing this or trying it at least. The first question is, what happened today and how am I feeling about it? That's a two-part question. How am I feeling about what happened today? That's one question. That's better. So that's the question you're going to answer, and you're going to be brief about it. You're not going to list all of the events that happened and all of the emotions. You're going to list the big event that happened, and you're going to list how you're feeling about it. That could be nothing, and I feel empty. Nothing happened today, and I feel empty. Or it could be, I had a phone call with a potential client, and I feel really anxious about whether they're going to hire me or not. Whatever your answer is, keep it brief, keep it succinct, keep it simple. The second question, though, is the deepest one, and it's the whole point of this. How do I want to feel tomorrow? How do I want to feel tomorrow? You get in the habit of answering these questions, you're going to start seeing patterns when you review them. We'll talk about the review here in a little bit. But you'll start to see patterns in how you answer them, that you want to feel a certain way. That is shaping that inner voice so that you start holding yourself accountable towards actually feeling that way. That inner voice is listening for rules, it's listening for guidance to hold you accountable. And if you're not setting that guidance, it's going to set it for you based off of what has happened in the past. And if you don't want to repeat your entire past, if you want to find a more fulfilling and purposeful life, you're going to start having to tell that inner voice what to hold you accountable for. That's actually going to live, that's going to help you live the life that you want to live. As you go along this journaling journey with these two questions, how am I feeling about what happened today? And how do I want to feel tomorrow? You can start adding in additional questions. In a couple weeks, I'm going to talk about the ikigai, which is a Japanese term. It's a philosophy for your purpose of being in the world. It's a way of talking about finding a new journey for yourself, finding a new place, finding a place that is meaningful, that fills you with peace and that fills you with fulfillment. And so you might start asking yourself some questions that are related to the ikigai. The ikigai is a four circled Venn diagram, basically, that are overlapping. So the first circle is, what do I love to do? So you could start asking yourself questions like, what do I feel passionate about today? Again, over time, if you ask these extra questions regularly and you review them after 30 days have passed, you're going to start seeing patterns in how you talk to yourself. And your inner voice is going to hold you accountable for these new goals that you're setting. And by the way, I am a fan of pen and paper a little bit more than apps. And part of the reason for that is that we have some of the um, most information being passed forward and backwards between our hands and our head than any other part of our body. Our gut, our hands, those two parts of ourselves get information from our brain and also send information to our brain. Touch, the sense of touch, and that inner feeling in your stomach, those are incredible. So when you're journaling with pen and paper, you're kind of doubling up on this on a kind of a subconscious level, that you're sending a lot more data to your brain while you're doing it. Tapping on a device, still good if that's what works for you. But I am a fan of pen and paper. So try pen and paper. Just saying. I'm a big fan. Not sponsored. Pen and paper. Big Pen and Paper didn't sponsor this show. Reach out to me. So again, you're going to add in these extra questions. So examples, what do I feel passionate about? Another one is, what am I good at? That's another ikigai based question. So ask yourself, what am I good at? What did I do today that I feel proud of? That it can be another question that leads you on a journey of discovering your ikigai. You could also start exploring your past and start extending question one by saying, when have I felt this way in the past? And tell yourself a little story about what you've experienced in the past that has made you feel that way. That can help start establishing some cyclical behaviors or cyclical patterns that you've experienced in the past, and help you get out of those cyclical patterns as well as you start delving into question number two. So, we're going to talk about reviewing the journal now. And when we're talking about reviewing the journal, the reason for this is that we're really good at throwing out information, especially when we're stressed out. When we're stressed out, our mind is sent signals that says that this isn't working. We need to find a new way, throw out everything, and we're going to figure it out. Okay. So, when you are doing your journal, you're going to find points where you're stressed out. You need to go back and review those notes in order to bring them back, to refresh them, and to identify patterns. Remember that human beings are better than AI now, right now. In the future, this won't be the case, but right now, humans are more advanced at discovering patterns in data than computers are. That's slowly changing. But if you're wanting to make the most of this, listening to the words that you use on yourself, the words that you use to describe yourself, to describe your life, to describe who you want to be, listening to those words are going to help reinforce them. So review your journal. My recommendation is about 30 days. Go back through your pages, read through what you saw, and look for commonalities from one day to another. Look for commonalities on specific times. If maybe the first week of the month is a very difficult week for you, usually, oftentimes is for some people, start looking at that and start recognizing how that's happening in the present. The next time it's the first of the month, look for similar patterns. Go back and re-listen, reread, or re-watch your entries. And that's what makes the mirror option a little bit more difficult to master. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you want to start using the mirror method, which is really more about self-talk and mantra or affirmations, self-affirmations, hang out towards the end because that's when we're going to talk about the mirror. But during your review, look for common themes. Look between the lines of the entries and see what deeper meaning you can come up with about your own words and your own journey. How am I feeling today? If you start seeing patterns of how you're feeling today, then that's going to help you identify when those feelings are showing up. It's going to help create consciousness in the present moment when those feelings are happening. And that consciousness can give you time to take a deep breath and choose a different path. Looking for common threads or themes in how do I want to feel tomorrow can help reestablish the type of person that is going to feel fulfilled in the future. The kind of person that's going to feel like they're living a powerful and purposeful life. The magic starts happening when you start seeing those tomorrow feelings show up in your present life. And after 30 days of journaling, upping that experience by adding in an additional question and then doing another review on that additional question can really help propel you into the person that you want to be, can really create common threads that your unconscious mind is going to listen to and help you hold yourself accountable towards. So I mentioned the advanced journaling, and this is my preferred method now. When I get out of the shower every day, or when I brush my teeth every day, I look at myself in the mirror and I tell myself what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that way. And then I tell myself what I want to see in the mirror the next day. If you're just starting out on this journey, it's really hard to remember from day 1 to day 2 to day 3 to day 30 what you said every single day. So when you're getting started on this path, start with post-it notes. Start with some little piece of paper that you can just write down a brief reminder of what it is that you talked about, and each day reflect on that. Looking for commonalities between the days. So you can take yesterday's post-it note or sticky note and reflect on it. How did that work? How did that work? How did I get to the place where I felt the way I wanted to feel yesterday, today? Um, Again, it takes a little bit more work to use the mirror method to get to the same place than it does the written method. If you're just starting out, you may want to use a written method, but if you want to try something advanced, start coming up with mantras that are going to help you remember how it is that you want to feel the next day. Things like, actually, I had a really good mantra that a client came up with once, and that was, when I'm feeling stressed, I need my feet to meet the street. that was the rhyme. So a mantra is just something that you reflect, or an affirmation is another way of looking at it, is something that you reflect on daily. I think the mirror is a fabulous tool of looking at yourself and talking to yourself. But either way, you're listening to the words. Part of you is listening to the words that you say. And by the way, do this out loud. Don't do it in your head. I've tried that. It goes away quickly. So talk it out loud if you're going to do the mirror method. I want to thank you so much for being here today. And I also want to thank my coach for helping me realize that this was something that I'm not only passionate about in general, but that I felt like I've covered this before, and I felt like I could do it more justice. And I really am feeling that right now. So thank you to my coach. I hope you see this episode and I hope it makes you smile. And also, thank you, audience. Thank you so much for being here on this journey with me to become the best version of myself that I can. I want that for you. And if you want to help other people discover that, if you want other people to hear this message, please feel free to share it. And if you have a moment to give back just a little bit to the community, make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. Hit the like button for this video so that Google, YouTube knows that this is valuable content. And leave a message, because that really helps uplift me a little bit as well, about what inspired you today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week with more topics of positivity, live on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you then. Bye.